Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder if getting a heart problem like cardiovascular disease actually makes you more likely to feel down or depressed? It's a big question because heart health and mental health are so connected, and we want to know how one affects the other. This study tried to figure out if a new heart condition, what they call incident cardiovascular disease or CVD, actually causes depression to pop up later, or if it really just makes existing feelings of sadness worse. They also looked at whether feeling lonely or isolated could be the bridge that connects a heart problem to feeling depressed. So how did they do this? They used a really cool big study called the English Longitudinal Study of Aging. Think of it like watching the same people for many years and checking in on them. They looked at adults over 50 and followed them over time. They checked who developed a new heart condition, and then a couple of years later they asked about their feelings of loneliness and social isolation, and then a couple of years after that they measured how many depressive symptoms people had. This long-term watch is super important because it helps them see what comes before what. Now, here is where things get interesting. When they looked at everyone, they found that having a new heart problem didn't seem to directly cause more depressive symptoms later on, especially after they accounted for some other things. This is a big finding because it challenges what many people might assume. The really striking part is that when they looked at whether people already had depressive symptoms before they developed a heart condition, that explained almost all of the connection. It seems like people who are already feeling down are more likely to experience a heart event, or perhaps their pre-existing feelings of sadness just continue or get a bit worse. This suggests that having a heart condition isn't the cause of new depression for most people, but rather it might be that other factors like existing mental health struggles play a bigger role. What about loneliness and social isolation? They thought these might be the missing links. For example, maybe getting a heart problem makes someone feel more alone. And that leads to depression, but that's not exactly what they found. For social isolation, it didn't seem to play a mediating role at all. However, loneliness did show something interesting, even when they looked at it separately. Loneliness itself was a pretty strong predictor of feeling depressed later on, regardless of whether someone had a heart condition or not. This means that loneliness is a really important feeling to pay attention to for overall mental well-being, and it might be a target for interventions. They did mention here that while loneliness is something we can potentially change, they weren't able to fully adjust for the starting levels of loneliness in their main analysis, which is a point to consider for future research. And this leads to a really fascinating idea. Instead of heart problems causing depression, maybe things like loneliness and existing depressive tendencies actually play a role in causing heart problems in the first place. It is like these emotional struggles might be happening before the physical illness starts. This flips the common way of thinking about it on its head. So let's zoom out. What's the big takeaway? This study, with thousands of participants over several years, suggests that if you develop a heart condition, it's less likely that the heart condition caused you to become depressed. Instead, it's more probable that if you were already feeling down, those feelings might persist or worsen, and those pre-existing feelings are the key factor. Loneliness, on the other hand, is a significant predictor of depression on its own, making it a really important factor for mental health, no matter what's happening with your physical health. One of the strengths here is how carefully they designed the study to look at cause and effect over time. They had a good number of people and they followed them for a long time, which is great for understanding these complex relationships. They also did several checks or sensitivity analyses to make sure their results were solid, kind of like double and triple checking their work. However, like most studies, there are limitations. They noted that for social isolation there was quite a bit of missing information, which might make their findings about it less reliable. Also, they grouped all sorts of heart conditions together, which might have hidden differences between specific types of heart problems. And they relied on people reporting their own health, which isn't always perfectly accurate. For instance, many heart conditions weren't self-reported when checked against medical records. Another challenge was that only a relatively small number of people actually developed a new heart condition during the study. This means they had less statistical power to detect smaller effects, even though they tried to overcome this with advanced statistical techniques. They also couldn't look at how things might change over time within the same person after they got a heart condition and how that might affect their social connections, because they were looking at a specific snapshot in time. So, what does this all mean for us? It suggests that when someone gets a heart condition, healthcare providers should really be looking out for signs of pre-existing depression. If someone is already struggling with their mental health, they might need more support, and getting a heart condition could be a time when those challenges surface more strongly. It also highlights that loneliness is a key factor for depression. So even if you don't have a heart condition, focusing on reducing loneliness in your life or in the lives of people you care about can be really beneficial for mental health. This could involve encouraging social connections, joining groups, or even through professional help like social prescribing. The most exciting idea coming out of this research is the possibility that addressing psychological issues, like loneliness and depression, before heart disease even starts might be a better way to promote long-term mental health. It's a call for prevention and a broader view of health that includes our minds as much as our hearts. Future research could really dig into this upstream idea, exploring how our mental and social well-being might actually contribute to our physical health from the very beginning. What do you think about these findings? Does it align with your experience or understanding? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this explanation helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more science breakdowns, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the human mind. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.